And all of a sudden, boom, I'm out of my body. I'm this film of light, this rainbow. So I realized then that it was expansion. It was the consciousness expanding all directions. So therefore, everything looked like it was traveling everywhere, but it was expansion. It was the sound of the universe, which we know the sound of the universe. Oh, and I'm seeing planets and stars and beings of light. People float things, intelligent things out there, realizing that everything I saw was me. There was nothing that was not me. See, and then depending on their frequency and their belief and everything else, that's the level they're going to see. It makes you wonder how many things are happening around us, to us, for us, that we don't see, right? Yes. In every past life they went through, and they looked at like 20 or 30 past lives. And according to the reading, every lifetime they examined, I left my body as a rainbow every single death. So death experience, which if I had three, rainbow body experience, out of body experience, an alien encounter of some kind, Babaji experience, two body experience, time travel. All these things change you. My problem is I've had them all, and
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. On this show, our guest today is Reverend Bill from the US. He's a mystic, minister, author, award winning poet, Vietnam War veteran, international inspirational speaker, energy healer, teacher, three-time near-death experiencer, worldwide workshop and retreat leader, yoga meditation teacher, and a spiritual warrior. A very warm welcome, Reverend Bill, to Multidimensional Soul Talk Show and Podcast. It's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I, I, I'm here for your audience, and I'm also here for me. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy meeting new people such as yourself. So blessings and peace.
Okay, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about your journey from being a veteran to spirituality? These were completely different. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's for some people, they usually have a defining moment in their life where something happens, a near death experience, which if I had three, a rainbow body experience, out of body experience, an alien encounter of some kind, Babaji experience, two body experience, time travel. All these things change you. My problem is I've had them all, and it's just a matter of how many weeks between things that I've experienced. So there's no place in my life I can say this was the defining event that led me down this road. Because ever since since I can first memories, I was meditating. I didn't have a formal meditation. I was making things up, thinking that I was doing things out of my own head. And it wasn't until 2004 when I was in India and I met some Tibetan refugees up in the Himalayas. And this guy didn't speak English. I didn't speak Tibetan. And he was trying to show me these things. And I go, wait a minute. You're showing me what I've made up. I was doing this when I was 8 years old. I thought I'd made these things up, breathing through, your navel and bringing the energy up and all these things. I'm going, wait a minute. And wait. So I found out that all these things I thought I'd made up about meditation were actually being practiced by Tibetans and by Hindus and by Nath yogis and by other cultures. And so it gets you to realize that the divine consciousness really is one. And you think you got new ideas. You think you make up things. You think you're original. No. You're just accessing parts of this divine consciousness when you're ready. And so that was kind of my life. I spent a year in the hospital as a child and had a near-death experience there, which I've talked about numerous occasions. But basically, a lot of people go, "Well, you're in a hospital for a year?" Yeah, pretty much isolation, no toys, no TV, no radio, no phone, no school, no books, no coloring books, no toys, visitors, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a week. And you think that'd be the worst thing in my life. And I look back upon that as the greatest experience that a young man could ever have. Because I went from this child of 8.5 years old to instantaneously being living a life as a monk. I was like in bed all day long from 6 o'clock in the morning when they turn the lights on till 9 o'clock at night when they turn the lights off, and with no diversions, nothing to give any attention to. No cell phones. The smartphones. I didn't have a dumb phone. Nothing. And in that process, I discovered that the inward journey offered a lot of stuff, and I was never bored. And even today, it's a skill. I can go days. If you had me wait, the old test in India was you go to the ashram, and the guru says, "Well, sit outside. I'll get you," and then you wait out there for months or years. And the rain's coming down. I could do that. It's like it wouldn't bother me at all. I could sit there. My mind would be totally active and engaged. And so that was kind of like my early life experience. And that's when I got involved with the healing of animals, dogs and cats and birds and snakes, other creatures. And later on, I was involved with healing of hands-on energy with the people, which I continue to do. But it's always been a pursuit of that light. It's like you're moving towards something. That process of moving is all I really needed. It's just the process of loving and moving towards that light. I look at light as the divine. I look at God as love. You can call God any name you want. Jesus, Shiva, Krishna, I don't care. It doesn't. It's love. Everything is made in that image. So to me, since I look at the divine within me as love, then everything is made in that image. Everything is made from love, the birth of love, the embrace of love. Everything is about love. And so when you're in that divine mode of giving love and becoming love, then you are, in the essence, in harmony with your divine self. And so that's been my pursuit. And I've had unique adventures. I got probably 5,000 stories of metaphysical, strange spiritual happenings. And in the process of saying that, I go, I've never gotten excited about any of them. It's like, oh, okay, that happens. Okay, go. It's like at the ashram when you have a samadhi experience and you go run into the guru. What? Samadhi experience? And he goes, calm down, go fetch wood, sweep the porch, get some water. And I think I learned that lesson from the get-go. I've never had any trouble. Some really divine, spectacular, neat thing can happen, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, this is good. Don't get excited about it.
Yeah.
It's not, and emotions don't go anywhere. It's all calmness. And I found that, and you found this yourself. I know you have. I sense that when you go through these divine moments, I mean, really the big, deep, dark ones. I mean, just that really in your, it's just you're having this moment with some saintly being or energy, or you're feeling this great love. There's no questions. There's no analysis. There's no how come, why, can I make this last? And nothing. It's just you're with it when it happens. And when it's over, it's like, thank you. That's it. Thank you. That's all. And you know that it's something you can never tell anybody because some things are just beyond, the telling of. It's so sacred that you can't talk about it. First off, there's no words for it. I mean, it's like trying to find a new color in the rainbow, right? It's just not there. Can't explain it. But once in a while, I will get a confirmation of what happens. And those are those stories where I get a guru or a teacher or a family member or a friend or a stranger witnesses something I've just done or seen. I get confirmation. Or I'm told by a guru, like in India, I'm told, no, you share this, you share that. So I share those. And there's probably 2,000 of those stories, but I probably got 3,000 or 4,000 stories that there's no way I could ever explain them. There's no way I could share them. And some experiences are of the depth that you don't fully understand it at the time. You just accept it. And then 10 years from now, you wake up one morning and you go, oh, I realized now what, right?
Yes, you can connect the dots looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
For example, had what I now label rainbow body experience, but at the time I didn't. I had no clue what happened. And when I came back, and I'm going to tell you that experience because it's kind of unique, but when I first came back, I had this telling of the experience to my wife, and there was parts of the story I knew I can't reveal this. I can't talk about this. It's not right time, place, or whatever. And there were some things I couldn't remember. I go, well, I remember there was and then it's blocked out. And then 10 years later, it's unblocked, or 20 years later, or 30 years later in this case. In other words, as I hopefully was evolving, I'm assuming I was evolving. As I'm moving along on my journey, all of a sudden insights come and you go, that's what that was about. That was that about. So in this rainbow body experience, which I label now that, it took about 20 or 30 years for me to label it that because I didn't know what it was. It started off with, let's see, the picture there, Yogananda on the other side, backwards. My hands are messed up. But I got two Yogananda pictures up there. The last one that I'm covering with my head there, the last one that he had taken before he died, that's the original picture. I've had that for, I don't know, 60 years plus. It's old. It's got the same old funky cheap frame on it, but I haven't changed anything on it because I've had some unique experiences, and I didn't understand at the time. But when I was young and I was married, still married, same woman, high school sweetheart, met in 1960, if you can believe that. We were both 14 years old. That makes us at least 21 years old by now, right? So I had that picture. We just got married, and I was meditating. Oh, heavy. I'd meditate 2-3 hours in the morning and 2-3 hours at night, about 4 to 6 hours a day, working 8 hours and 2 hours overtime. And I was going to college at night carrying 18 units. And I had no time. I was either meditating, working, eating, and not much sleeping. So my sleep was down to almost nothing, which is interesting because I felt more rested then than I do now. And I'm not working and I'm not going to school, and all these other things. But deep, deep meditation, it seems to eliminate, if you're really in a deep meditation, not just restless, counting up and down. Okay, that's how many times, 108, 104, whatever. Once you get out of the mind totally, very restful. Feels like you've had 4 or 5 hours sleep and it's only been, a couple hour meditation. So this one night after doing yoga recharging exercises, as Yogananda teaches, you may be aware of those or not, but basically does these dynamic tensions, and you get energy channeled. Anyways, I used to do that. And back when I was younger, I used to be able to take my legs and wrap them around my head, in a lotus, and then put my hands down there and lift myself up. And I could do all these things, which, trust me, I'm going to be 80 in 2 weeks, and I'm going, no, my body is not liberal. It's not limber. It's not liberal. It's not anything anymore. It's a hard tree. It's not a young tree. The branches aren't swaying. So, but back then, that's what it was. So I spent 2, 3 hours chanting and meditating. And then what people don't realize is when you're meditating, you're really not escaping thoughts. You think you are. But like, no matter if it's Akanksshaa, Om technique, Kriya Yoga, it doesn't matter, whatever you're using, you're still thinking. You got a mantra going. You're counting. You're visualizing. So you really haven't shut down that yet. But this night, I'm doing that, and 2, 3 hours go by, and it's like all I remember was getting to doing the Kriya Yoga. I'm like at 3, maybe 4, and then now it's 3 hours later. So you go, whoa, that's interesting. So I go to bed, and I got that portrait of Yogananda sitting on my bedstand, and I'm laying looking at it, and I'm just looking at its face. I'm looking at the face and his eyes. And a lot of meditators experience this when you look at a holy picture or a statue, picture, photo, whatever. If it's divine, it's your love put into it, not necessarily the power of that picture. It's your love. It's the power of your love focused on that. And next thing I know, I'm looking and the eyes are looking at me, and it's coming animated. It's alive, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm out of my body. There's no more portrait. There's no more me in the bed. There's no more body. I'm this film of light, this rainbow. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was all these lights. At that time I thought, this is like Star Trek, where they go into hyperspace and you see all the lights go, the stars. And that's what it was like. It was like everything was going. And I thought at the time, at that moment of my evolution, I go, well, I'm traveling. I must be traveling through dimensions, space, whatever, right? And I'm just, and all this stuff is coming. And about 25 years later, I finally thought about that. I woke up one morning, I go, what do you mean? I wasn't traveling anywhere, because it was coming at me from every direction. Which, how could you be traveling towards something if everything's coming? So I realized then that it was expansion. It was the consciousness expanding all directions. So therefore, everything looked like it was traveling everywhere, but it was expansion. And I had this hour and 15-minute experience where I was everything I saw, felt, observed, was aware of. I was everything. I was the sound of the universe, which we know the sound of the universe. Om. It's a beautiful melody of it's just continuing flow of sound. And I'm seeing planets and stars and beams of light, people float, things, intelligent things out there, and realizing that everything I saw was me. There was nothing that was not me. And I also realized that these planets, stars, dimensions, everything also had intelligence. It was also had a spirit, to put it in other ways. Like people talk about a mountain having a spirit. So they do. Later on, you realize, no, I could feel the stream of water, the ocean. There's power. There's an intelligence to it. There's intelligence to the sun and its moon, and you realize that because it's all including the divine consciousness. It's all one. So once you get to a point, you realize there's nothing that's not God. There's nothing that's not divine. And then you realize that, well, that includes me. I am the divine. It just sounds terrible to go around and say, I am God. Never do that. But I do say, we are God. Us are God, which is a truer statement because then it doesn't leave anybody out. It's all of us, including the tree, including the dog, including the sky. It's all us. It's all one. There's nothing outside of that. And so that was a feeling I was getting on this journey. And I realized I'm traveling in this literally a rainbow. This rainbow ribbon is just drifting through. It wasn't really space, dimension. It was like, and time wasn't really functioning like time there either. It was different. And I realized in that hour and something, Earth time, in the experience itself, I was realizing about 300 million years. I was observing back and forwards, just in wherever I put my consciousness at, wherever I put my focus at, watching worlds be created, watching worlds be destroyed, watching worlds just being. And I kind of realized at the time, I'm going, oh, creation, sustaining, destruction. What does that mean? So that was like, I was thinking about that only when I got back. When I was there watching that, it was like, that's the natural state of this thing. It's either being born, it's being, contained, and or it's being destroyed. And I'm watching all this, and I'm realizing that in this rainbow, and 30 years later, I called it a body. I finally called it. Well, it was a body. It was spirits. It was souls. They're all me, but we're separated. There's still a little bit of separation because we have a body. The body being a rainbow. Anytime you got a body, whether it's angelic, it's an orb of light, or you're an angel, or you're a diva, if you're an avatar, as long as you got a body, you're still not fully absorbed into the full consciousness, right? You still have an identity. So even though this identity was one with everything, I had a rainbow body. So therefore, I am not fully absorbed. That I understood. And I knew that in this rainbow, these other souls, these other identities, were a part of the same mission and purpose. And therefore, we occupied this rainbow between lives on Earth or elsewhere. And the job of this rainbow family, that's the better name here to go, this rainbow family was the spiritual evolution of where we went. And in this particular case, we're working on time and space, Earth and similar worlds. And that periodically, people from this rainbow body would be reborn and take on whatever form they're going to, whatever planet. And their job was to spiritually evolve and teach and move the planet forward. And I realized that in my daily life, that even though I'm incarnated or in the rainbow, the family was always watching and taking care of you for your mission. And I realized also that, and I say this because at the time, a lot of this stuff came later. It was like I had a lot to think about. And I realized over the next 30 years what all that meant. And then I realized that there wasn't the only rainbow body out there. This rainbow body was to deal with spiritual evolution. But there was a rainbow body out there that was dealing with the evolution of music. Like the Mozarts of the world and all these great ones. And there was another rainbow that was taking care of science and medicine and literature and the arts. And I realized that part of the spiritual evolutionary process is not just this great spiritual thing, but the planet needed the joy and the love of music, and needed science to evolve, and needed all these other facets that the human species needs, and that these great souls would come, whether it's, Michelangelo or Da Vinci or somebody, these great souls would come and they would be inventing stuff or pushing us forward into star study or into music or whatever realms they are. So realizing that all of them are doing the divine work of evolution of where we're at. And so this stuff was going on. I was like, and I'm traveling with this group, and I'm seeing 300 million. I knew it was at least 300 million. It's like this big expanse of time, but it was like cyclic. It was like, oh, this 300 million go by or so, and then it kind of evolves, and there's another. It's like an ongoing cycle within this cycle, like yugas, I guess. And so this experience was just so overwhelmingly loving, so beautiful. And it wasn't until I remembered I had a wife and children back on Earth life. And as soon as I remembered my family and my identity as Bill, instantaneous, I'm pulled out of that world. Just boom, and I'm like 2,000-pound body laying on the bed all of a sudden, like, and I started crying. My wife goes, "What?" And I cried for about an hour and a half. I had it all, and I've escaped all this, and it was my memory of having identification with this body that dissolved it all. So I was in that separate. I was becoming united, and becoming one. And then when you remember your family and you remember your identity, then you're kind of back here. And that's kind of like all of us today. We are who we are, therefore we are, right? Therefore we believe in birth, and then we believe in all the stuff that happens after birth, and then we believe in death, and then we believe in life after death, and then we believe in angels and everything else that goes with that. Then you believe in reincarnation, and then you believe, whoa, we start the whole thing all over again. Then you believe in karma. None of it's real. It's what we believe because we identify with your personal history. You identify, therefore you're separate from the divine source. But when you have this experience where you're so close to being dissolved, so close to being fully
One.
God realized.
Yeah.
So close. You're self-realized, but God realizes it's not permanent. It's like, yes, I know it's there, but there's still that identity. And you have an identity if you have a body. And if you have a rainbow body, I'm sorry, you got identity. And if you have a astral body, you got identity. And if you're a body of light in an orb running around, you got an identity. If you're Krishna, you got an identity. So whatever it is, it has to take on the density of identity and a body of some kind. So when I came back, I couldn't explain it to anybody. And it wasn't until that happened in like 1973, 4, something like that. And then in 2000, right around 2000, a friend of mine said, "Hey, you want to read a good book?" And so I bought it, and it was Testimony of the Light about this lady that channels, that she's in South Africa, and she channels this nun that died or something. And she goes to this other world and discovers what this lady's telling her, the channeling that's going on, that there's these rainbow bodies. And I go, rainbow bodies? Wait a minute. And this rainbow body out there with all these souls that periodically come back to Earth and I go, what? And then it talked about all the other stuff. And I'm going, so I didn't have that piece of information until about almost 30 years after the fact. And then I'm going, then it made sense. It was like, oh, okay. That's what they were talking about. But the experience itself was so, because I said earlier that, what changes my life. That probably was the greatest change because I came back and here's I don't understand, and I'm still trying to sort this out. I didn't answer every question. I came back and I told my wife for about 2 years, I go, I'm not the same person.
Mm.
I'm not me. I kept saying, I'm not me. I'm not. She said, where are you? I don't know. But I'm not me. I'm not the me that before the experience. I'm not. I'm not that. I'm not me. Had no idea what that means. Now I'm kind of getting an inkling that, yeah, okay. It was kind of like a spiritual death and a spiritual rebirth, and
Yeah.
kind of like a download of a new operating system or something. But I came back knowing, no, I'm not. I'm not the old me. I'm not. I'm not the same. The body's the same, memories are the same, the voice, but no, it's not me.
Yeah.
And I kept saying that, and I'm still sorting that out. But it was, but the rainbow body experience, I thought was so unique. And then I found that story where she basically explains it from the other side. And I'm not much into that kind of book. I don't normally read a book about channeling, but this was recommended, and I said, okay, fine. And then I read it. I'm going, I know why it was recommended. I know why I read it. I was led to that book. I would have never got it off a bookshelf in a store. I would have never went on Amazon. They didn't have Amazon back then, but I would have never bought it on Amazon. I mean, who looked up the title "Testimony of the Light"? What's that wouldn't have done
So,
anything.
yeah, sorry. You mentioned she was from South Africa, right? The lady. I had done some sadhana, as in some spiritual practices myself of Rainbow Body Masters, and this philosophy typically comes from Tibetan Buddhism, and there are Rainbow Body Masters. But what you are talking about is different Rainbow Body, because there the masters, what happens is they work through the chakras, and at the time when they drop the body, their body vanishes and the rainbow comes.
Yeah,
And
this is not a death experience.
yeah, so this is what I felt is this is more like an oversoul kind of experience, where there is a group of souls and they are part of one group consciousness, because you said there were other souls also in that rainbow body. And
Now, now let me throw something out to you because in my naughty palm leaf reading, my first one
hmm,
in Pune, 2010. That's another whole discussion. But basically, when they did in a past life, you were this or that, and part of that reading was the fact that in every past life they went through, and they looked at like 20 or 30 past lives. They said, who knows, but in every past life, and they gave me an example, one from Sri Lanka, where I went into the river uh, on the Ganges River and came up, and then the light of Lord Shiva is there. Now you can't see Lord Shiva unless you're dead, right? So I come up, and then all of a sudden I leave with Lord Shiva as a rainbow. And according to the reading, uh, every lifetime they examined, I left my body as a rainbow every single death. So who knows? I mean, that's great. It makes a great story. It ties in well what we're talking about. But so I was aware of that kind of rainbow body experience from my reading, and then being told that every single death I've ever had has been a rainbow body.
oh, that's
This,
amazing.
so this rainbow body experience was a living rainbow experience, and if you dig
Yeah,
deep enough into
yes, yes.
Tibetan literature, you'll find that there's some people that have left in rainbow bodies and have come back. They've had a similar. I've only learned this recently. There's been some similar experiences, but it's usually when people talk about rainbow body experience, that's why I didn't identify for 30 years with it. They mean the depth one where you boom, there's your clothes, and boom, you're gone.
Right.
There's the light. And so this is uniquely different.
Yes.
but I got a feeling if I research long enough, there's somebody, someplace, sometime that's written about it. I just haven't discovered it yet. Uh, but it was altering to my life trajectory to the degree that I felt like I had spiritually, physically died.
Died. Yes, I
Came back
have experienced that.
and when I came back saying I'm not me, I meant that literally. Like, no, I've discarded that whatever it was, and I've got a new operating system, a new download, right? Like you just
Yes.
got your phone, you got a new operating system. I'm Bill 2.0, you know. So,
Yes.
uh, so it was different, but I was also told, and I remembered, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. You will eventually remember this. Right now, you can't remember this. I can remember those agreements.
Uh-huh.
And as time went by, then I go, oh, that's what I can't talk about. Or now I remember this. And there's some things I remembered, but I can't talk about. And some things I remembered, yes, it's okay. Now you can talk about this.
Okay.
So it was a long time coming to piece it together. And it was a kind of experience that it keeps giving. I keep learning from it. It's like me realizing that I wasn't traveling, I was expanding.
Yeah.
I mean, it took 20 years to figure that out. I mean, I'm not the brightest bulb in the light, right? You know, I mean, come on, there's people out there smarter than me. I'm very childlike, um, and I don't apologize. I don't make life complicated. I try to explain things simple, and I look at life very simply. It's we're here to love, to give love, to be loved, and if we are loved, that's a nice side effect, but it's not why we're here. We're here to give, not get. We're here to love, not be loved. You know, we're here to listen and understand, not be understood. So it's like the old St. Francis philosophy coming back, which is a beautiful
Mm.
philosophy. We're really here to serve, not to.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, it's
as
amazing that after so many years, these experiences, like you said, that they keep giving because you
yeah,
keep getting new insights after every few years, like probably. And I can so resonate with this. Actually, my son, who has crossed over in 2020, is having this experience right now where he is this multicolored, huge, just consciousness. He's right now experiencing this. He's in 15th dimension and above, and he's experiencing himself as a kind of multicolored um, consciousness body, like a galaxy awakening itself. So yes, I can resonate with you. It's amazing. When you talked about Paramahansa Yogananda and kind of focusing on that and meditating on that, so is there any connection that he took you there to experience this thing, or is it that it's just that your own consciousness and faith and love for him that took you to a higher realm?
well, I think it's all the above, and I never really analyzed that. Uh, Yogananda has been my go-to spirit guide,
Yeah.
teacher, guru, whatever. But I'm also at that point realizing that we are all Yogananda. We're all one. There's only us. And how we choose to honor that divine within us, it's hard for us to not have some image, something for us to latch onto. To loving God as this loving thing. Like what is that? For some people, it's loving Jesus. It's loving your guru. It's loving. I think that's the human side of this. Is we have to identify with something, and so identifying with it, even though philosophically we're at the point where it's all us. It's just But in reality, there's that emotional stuff in human beings that you got to love the Divine Mother. You got to love the Divine Father. You love your guru. You love your teacher. You have to express it to something, even though philosophically, it's just God. It's all one. But no, I'm a human being, so part of me goes, I love Yogananda, and I love Babaji and Siva and as you can tell, I got a card somebody gave me with Siva Teshwar up there, like glowing around his head and everything.
Yeah,
Because
I
when I was
also
in,
have on my wallpaper. That's the picture of 6 of them.
yeah, I'm looking at it now. So speaking of Siva Teshwar, because I identify with that, I was in India. If we got time for a story here, we were in India in the
Please.
jungles about 20, 30 miles south of Pune. And there's a little valley there, and there's an old fort up on top of a hill and down this valley down below. And um, I should know the name of it, but I don't. But I'm staying at this ashram, and I went to Mumbai to introduce a guru that was giving talks, and he had large audiences, like 3, 4,000, 6,000 people, 1,500 was a small crowd. And I'd be introducing them on stage, except for this one. The last one I did, I wasn't feeling good. Somebody else wanted to introduce them, and I was in the audience. So while I was in the audience, I had a major, major heart attack. Boom. I collapse, I fall. And typical in India, if you're in a crowd of people and you fall down with a heart attack and they're looking at the guru, they walk over you for a half hour. Nobody even checks on you. I mean, it was like bizarre. It's like I'm having a heart attack and everybody ignores me. It's like, what? Anyway, so it's finally over, and I'm sent to the ER, and the ER says you got to go home. You need surgery. So I go back to the ashram to pack up, and I packed up. I'm sitting at the ashram in the kitchen, and waiting for my ride to get to the airport. And I'm there, and all of a sudden I feel somebody looking at me. You go to the movie and somebody's sitting behind you and they're staring at you, and they're staring. Why are you staring at me? You can feel people staring at you, right? I mean, even non-sensitive people, not spiritually based people, they know when somebody's staring at them. And it's like this.
Yeah.
So I turn around, and Siva Teshwar, not in a dream, not a vision, I'm talking flesh and blood, body, physical, standing between about the distance between me and my shelf behind me. And you can see him right over the top of my head. That's, but he wasn't, he was standing, and he had his arms like this. Then he had his arms behind his back. And I'm looking at him and I'm going, I just had a major heart attack. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm dying. Maybe I'm in a different delusional world here. Maybe I'm on the edge of. So there's these 2 young ladies, beautiful young ladies. They're from Scandinavian countries, and they came to the ashram, but they just spent some time at the beach doing these wonderful yoga postures and leotards, and all the outfits that Europeans wear to do yoga. I mean, they look, and their idea of yoga was postures and physical health and all that stuff, and not so much on the heavy deep meditation. Their choice. And I asked them, I said, do you see anything? Do you feel anything? No. They're just upset with me. What are you, crazy old guy? So I didn't tell them anything. I just said, do you see anything? And and they go and talk at each other. Then there was a guy named Mark Griffin, who was from Texas, American, and he'd been meditating, I don't know, a number of years, and he was into Kriya Yoga. And I said, Mark, you see anything? He says, there's this like sun, this orb behind you, like with, like energy just coming out of it, like the sun, right? Just pulsating, and it's blinding. I should be blind, he says, and I'm feeling such love. I just feel hugged. I feel loved more than anything. And he goes on, describes it, and I go, okay. And there was this other young man, Brian Yosevich, and I asked him if he saw anything, and he goes, well, you're not going to believe it, Bill. And I said, what do you see? Tell me. He says, I have a vision, like a vision, kind of wavy vision of Sivateshwar. And I said, how's he standing? And he goes, well, he's kind of doing this, and then he's doing behind his back. And I go, yeah. I said, I see the same thing, except mine's in flesh and blood. So I looked at that, and the lesson there was this. This divine experience happened, and unless you were tuned in at whatever frequency you were at, it was a different experience. For the young ladies, their party world, they don't see, they don't feel nothing, not even a sensation, except it's there, happening 20 feet from them, maybe 15 feet from them. I mean, it's like right there. And the other guy was developed enough that he could see this orb of light. I mean, think about it. That's pretty good vibration. That's a pretty good development. He's a real spiritual guy, right? He's able to feel the love and see an orb the size of 6 foot or so around light. That's pretty amazing, right? And then the other guy, he sees a vision. He sees who it is, and he feels love as well. And then there's me, seeing the flesh and blood spirit, and it's all happening in the same place, same time, and yet each had a different experience, which explains why children can see Jesus or Mary or some saint or sage, and adults can't. I think a lot of it is belief. If you don't believe it, you'll never see it.
Yeah.
Second is your frequency. And if your frequency is not the level, if you got the wrong radio, TV station on, you can't get the channel, right? You can't see it. And it reminded me of when Christopher Columbus sailed into America, right? He went to these islands, and the Native Americans there, the Indians, the indigenous people, never saw one of those big sailing ships before. So he sailed in with 3 ships into the harbor. They did not see him until he got in the boat and he came ashore. And they go, whoa, there's a people, they couldn't see it because they'd never seen it before and they couldn't believe it. So therefore their vision was cut off. And I thought, I always thought that was a strange story. And then I watched a TV show many years ago. It was filmed at UCLA, University of Los Angeles. And the professor did an experiment. He brought his class into this theater, and he told them, he says, this is going to be 20% or whatever it was of your final grade, in the semester. You got to pay attention. I mean, you really got to focus on these dancers. You had couples on stage, and there was 3 or 4 groups of them, and they're going to change partners and move around. And those that observed and could count how many different partners there were, combinations, they get a great grade, right? So all they told focus on the dancers. So they get through, and you ask them how many, what they saw. They all, I saw 23 different change, and everybody had a number. And he goes, oh, how many of you saw the man in a 6-foot man in a gorilla suit dancing with each group? And they all laughed. Nobody saw it. He showed them a video, and a guy comes out in a gorilla suit and dances a circle around each group. And they're observing it in person and never remembered seeing it because their mind would not accept it. It was so unreal that the mind blocked it off. And I heard that explanation. I go, well, that kind of explained what happened at the ashram. They don't believe, they can't see. If their frequency is not the right level, they can't see. And then depending on their frequency and their belief and everything else, that's the level they're going to see. It makes you wonder how many things are happening around us, to us, for us, that we don't see, right?
Yes. Yeah, scientifically also it is known that we actually see only 1% of the universe probably. And there's so much, and our brain is used to having these filters, and that is why we don't see only. We whatever the filter the brain has, we see as per that. So it's amazing. And absolutely, that whatever frequency you are at, you will have that kind of experience. Your belief and your frequency shapes your reality. So this is
Yeah.
so amazing that four different people in the same room and have different experiences. This is like uh, a real testimony of this, that how your beliefs and frequency can create the reality.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's why even when I watch trials in court, you're on a jury. I don't pay a lot of respect to people's observational skills. People don't see what they believe in, and they like they see a black man, and then all of a sudden they picture him as a robber or something. They got their own prejudice. Number one. Number two, they block out seeing other things, and they believe
Yeah.
they saw a guy that had red hair and he didn't. He had glasses, he didn't have glasses. So people will accept what they believe, and if they don't believe it, they'll never see it. So my thought is not seeing is believing. No, believing is seeing, just the
Yeah.
opposite. And so, because I got all kinds of examples. I was given a lecture at a church in Tucson, Arizona, and it was like, I don't know, 600 people, maybe a little more, a little less. And the hour and a half thing, I'm going into this thing, and I'm noticing that my cheeks are wet. I mean, I'm crying. I don't even know why, but like emotionally, I'm just crying, right? I look out the audience, and about 80% of the audience, about 8 out of 10 people, crying. The story I'm telling is not sad. It's just a bunch of my stuff. I'm talking. It's just my energy in the stories, right? And then I look at them, and then they look at me, and pretty soon they're starting to realize they're crying, and some aren't. And then I look up at the ceiling, and there's like a blaze of orbs and light, angelic energy. And it was an overwhelming feeling of love hovering in this cathedral over all these people. And no one in that church looked up. No one in the church saw the lights, but 80% of them, which is pretty darn good, 80% of them were moved to tears of love and bliss, not even knowing why, because it was so overwhelming. The whole ceiling was just a blaze of angelic beings. It was just, and I'm going, and I'm realizing nobody's looking up, nobody's seeing it. So I just, okay, fine. But it was, they had to stop and think afterwards, like, why were we crying? That's a case where they could feel it. It was so overwhelming, but they couldn't see it because their mind wouldn't accept it. Their beliefs wouldn't accept it. And there's a
we
certain, yeah.
Yeah, we have had angelic beings and orbs, light beings on the podcast. I have actually seen on a few of my podcasts that so it is amazing. Yes, I can
What's,
totally.
yeah, what's interesting is you said that because a couple of podcasts I was on, I was talking. Oh, actually, it was a Zoom call, and this lady heard about me, and she was like, yeah, I don't know, but she wasn't believing everything I said. So I'm talking to her, and she was talking about her mother was dead and stuff, and then all of a sudden, uh, my picture, like you're looking at me now, I'm clear. All of a sudden, there's this cloud like fog wraps around me. It's clear on the edges, and it should be just like it is clear now on this screen. But all of a sudden, I'm in this fog, and then I told her, this is really weird. I said, well, normally this would be followed by an orb, going across the screen. As soon as I said that, this orbs crossing the screen all over the place, right? And she's going, but she was talking about her mother. And then we made peace with that and everything. And as soon as she made peace with that, the fog was instant. It just fog went, and the orb was gone. Everything was gone, but the fog was gone. And she goes, wow, I should have recorded that. And I said, yeah, maybe you should have. But it was interesting. I told her, I said, no, we'll probably see an orb I made that statement very boldly. How did I know that, right? But there it is, right? And it's like, wow, she needed that to say goodbye and come to grips with her mother's death. And so it wasn't for entertainment. It wasn't to capture the show and look at how great I am or somebody else is. It had nothing to do with that. It was all done because she needed to have that touch with her deceased mother, even though it was a orb and it was mystical, but she believed.
Oh, no. These light beings come because of their presence in the podcast. The whole vibration of the podcast, the whole thing goes up. That's why it's an amazing experience. So yes, I feel really blessed. You talked about your experiences with Yogananda and Sri Yukteswar. Can you talk about your experiences with Mahavatar Babaji?
Okay, I can only talk about 4.
Okay, sure.
Just because unless I've been, and this could sound crazy, unless I've been authorized, quote unquote, and assured you can do that. Otherwise, any other experience just remains personal at that level.
Sure.
But 4th times it happened, and through the benefit of other people, witnesses and things and strange events, I'm allowed to tell those stories. First time, I'm going to tell them, you're going to go, what? This is weird. Anyway, first time I'm sitting at the ashram just south of Pune, and the guru went to bed like about midnight, and it was between visitors. There was only 2 or 3 people there, and we're all sitting around this fire. Not even a sacred fire; it's more of a campfire, and we decided to start telling ghost stories. And this Indian lady that she was there talking about this ghost, and her father saw this ghost, and it was a beautiful story. It was like amazing, and there was witnesses to. And it was really kind of neat. And then this American guy was there. He was an ex-rock and roll guy from America. Big, he was a big rock guy, but he was into drugs. And when he was into drugs, he saw demons and stuff and said that scared him and everything. And then he got sober and ended up in an ashram, and it turned out to be a very beautiful experience for him. But anyway, he was talking about, demons, and she was talking about ghosts, how they scared them and everything. And I'm going, and I'm bragging this at an ashram, right, very sacred ground. And I go, there's nothing that scares me. I'm declaring to God, the divine, nothing scares me. Like, who the heck do I think I am, right? Nothing scares me. I've seen it all. I've seen the demons. I've seen the ghosts. I've seen all that. Nothing scares me. I've been in combat. I've been shot, been wounded, been blown up. Nothing scares me. Well, never brag. And divine will always play with you and have fun, literally. So I go to this, like a cabin, a hooch, a building, and it's just me in it, and it's dark, and I got a flashlight. I open the door and I shine my light in, and there's my bed, and sitting on my bed in a lotus position is the divine avatar, Babaji, just sitting there, long black hair, no shirt, no shoes, kind of like a cloth around him. And the eyes, as soon as I make contact, like laser lights coming out. Like, I don't know what color they were, but they were like colored lights coming right out of his eyes, like right into me, penetrating, like nothing frightens you. That was like the feeling I was getting, like nothing, didn't say anything, but that was a feeling, like nothing frightens you. That's what I was picking up. Like, shoo, and these lights are just coming right at me, right? And I'm going, holy, and my heart's pounding, and my flashlight's flying up in the air and spinning around on the ground. My heart's going like this. And I pick up the flashlight and I shine there, and it fades away, right? And I thought, thank God nobody witnessed that. Because I had a reputation at the ashram that the guru would call me General Bill, because I'm this great warrior, and there's a lot of other things. The general, there's other reasons he called me that, but I had this reputation that nothing scares Bill, right? And there I was thinking, holy cow, my heart's still, pounding, and I'm going, and I shouldn't have been afraid of that, right? It was like nothing ever. All my life I've seen stuff, but this time the lights was very like, okay, boom. So I said, okay, we're just going to chalk this up as a personal experience, and that's it. So I'm walking the next day across the courtyard to the kitchen at the ashram, and I hear these footsteps behind me. I turn around, it's the guru, and he goes, "Beer, I didn't think those things were supposed to scare you." And I go, "What? What?" He says, "You tell that story at breakfast this morning." I go, "What?" So he made me tell the whole story and how I got frightened and quote unquote, and everybody had a great laugh, and he laughed. Everybody had a great laugh at my expense. But it was like, never challenge the universe. You never make a statement. Nothing ever scares me at a sacred, because they're going to take care of you. I mean, it's like, and up until then and after then, nothing's ever scared me. But I don't ever make that declaration anymore. It's like, nope, 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 nope.
Thank
Anyways.
you for staying with us and watching so far. I hope you are enjoying this fascinating conversation. Stay tuned for the next part. Don't miss out on the next part. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and my guests. If you resonate with me, subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share. Let's keep this beautiful energy in flow, in motion. Namaste. Lots of love.